So, I don't know about you, but when I was little, I really hated bees. Come on, let's be honest. They sting us, they fly all around us. Not really pleasant, and they were kind of scary. So, that wasn't good. But as I've grown up, and especially through this passion project, I've started learning how important bees actually are and putting myself on the track towards saving bees rather than hating them. So my project was combating the decline in the bee population. So a little bit about that. Why bees? Well, actually, I started out on Ebola. The problem was I couldn't think of any direct action that I could really take to help something that was unique or that wasn't already happening. And there wasn't too much information about the Ebola crisis at the time, or credible sources, or there wasn't much precedent that I could reference. So one day my mom walked in and she said, Caroline, you could do Ebola, but why don't you do bees? Your brother was a beekeeper. And so I was like, yeah, I guess I'll do bees. And so I did. Come to find out, it's actually really important. Bee population is a pressing world issue. Without bees, we'd have to hand pollinate. There would be about 3.43 billion in additional farming costs worldwide, which would contribute to really high food prices as farmers set their prices higher because they had to spend more on their crops. Expanding world hunger because it would become less available to people, especially since it's also true that bees have a special knack of pollinating. Even though they don't pollinate everything, they are the main pollinators. And things that are hand pollinated actually only produce about 75% yield when compared to things that are pollinated by bees. There's also loss of culture and traditions. There are several cultures that have traditions concerning flowers or fruits or different plants, or they use them at specific times or during specific ceremonies, and all of that would be lost. So, principal factors causing the bee decline. First of all, you have to understand there are two types of bees, bumblebees and honeybees. Bumblebees, they're the wild bees, and honeybees are and they're the ones in beehives that beekeepers carry around. Bumblebees generally live in smaller hives and don't venture as far from their hive, whereas honeybees have a little bit larger hives, and the beekeepers are taking them around, so they always have food. So bumblebees and honeybees both have problems with varroa mites. Varroa mites are parasites. What they do is they suck the bee's hemolymph, which is the bee's version of blood, during the bee's larvae stage, causing the bees to grow up weak and malformed, making them more susceptible to diseases and viruses, especially deformed wing virus, which can cause the wings to form incorrectly. That's exactly how it sounds. And that means the bee is useless to the colony because it can't fly and it often dies. There's also, for both of them, neonicotinoid pesticides. Now, neonicotinoids, they're invasive pesticides, which means that when they're sprayed on plants, they don't just stay on the outside of the plants, they actually pervade every cell of the plant, including the pollen. And when bees eat that, they eat the pollen. When they eat that can cause navigational scrambling, it can cause sickness, so they can't find their way back to the hive. And if they do find their way back, they can infect the queen, who is the one who lays all of the hive's eggs, which means the whole hive is doomed. Now, where it splits off a bit is bumblebees have a real problem with habitat loss and urbanization, or farmers switching to monoculture, because bees are healthier when they have more than one type of pollen to eat. Because they don't venture very far from their hives, and they're often in hives in the ground. People don't know where they are, and so when we urbanize and when we get rid of their habitat, they have nowhere to go, and they just die because they can't find any food. Honeybees, on the other hand, they have keepers to take them around, so their real problem is something called colony collapse disorder, or CCD. No one really knows much about CCD, except that all the adult bees disappear, leaving behind honey and larvae. There are many theories as to what causes it. Some people say disease, some people say pesticides, some people say cell phone towers, but there's not really an explanation for why they just vanish. So, what did I do? The service portion of my passion project. I'm hoping this video loads. I don't know if it will. Kind of cool video inside a video, but anyway. So I got informed. I wrote my paper. That was an important part. Next thing, I wrote a children's book. Because remember at the beginning I was telling you when I was little that I really hated bees and I was kind of scared of them? Well, that was a problem. And so Let's see if it is playing, I think. Yes. You won't be able to hear the sound, but it's just music anyway. So, I actually wrote this book, self-edited it, and self-published it on a site called Blurb, and it's available in paperback and ebook form. It has fun rhyming text and full-color images, and it teaches kids about bees and why bees are important and not necessarily to be afraid of them. I also made an English website, which, let me just fast forward a bit here. Oh, here, okay. An English website with different buttons and various tabs, as you can see. Up at the For Kids tab at the top, I also linked my book. All the books that are sold, the profits go to Xerxes Society, which is a society that helps bees and other insects. I also translated my website. There's the book page. Into French, as you can see a little bit here, to get a larger readership, and because I actually know some people in Switzerland where they speak French who said they would put it on their blog, and that allows them to read it as well. And then I also planted some flowers to have some more direct action, so increasing the bees' food supply in my own garden. So I was planting wildflowers. As you can see, I'm a very quick planter. I have awesome skills. Actually, no, I'm horrible at gardening, but it was a learning experience, stuff like that. So, and then I also made flower pens, which I actually sold at the fair for $1. Proceeds also go to Xerxes Society, just to remind people as they took the pens, that they looked at the pen in their purse and they'd say, oh, I have to remember to go help the bees. I'll tell you about how to help them right after this. So yeah, those were my actions, and also advocacy presenting at the fair. Let's see, further outreach I'm doing. I told you about the Beekeepers Society in Switzerland, and also I've been invited to my church garden sale to make a stand to promote my book and website. It's currently under review, and they've also invited me to speak at their garden club and potentially at an elementary school that they partner with. So, what can you do? I know this is the part everyone's waiting for. You can plant some wildflowers. The more diverse, the better, because actually bees eat more than one type of pollen are healthier, just like humans who eat more than just one food group like pizza are healthier. If you eat pizza and vegetables, then you're good to go. But I'm just saying. Also, buy organic, because organic foods are grown without pesticides guaranteed, which means there is no danger of harmful neonicotinoid pesticides present on the foods. They're more harmful to bees than humans, but by buying organic foods, you're disincentivizing farmers to use neonicotinoid pesticides. Also, there's something called Bumblebee Watch. You can help the Xerxes Society keep track of wild bumblebee populations. Remember how I was saying that they usually lived in the ground or in small communities? Well, that makes them really hard to find, and since they're wild, no one's really keeping tabs on them. Bumblebee Watch helps to keep tabs on them, and through this, we can monitor their populations, do a little bit of research, and try to help their population get back on track. It's important to have both bumblebees and honeybees. I didn't say this before, but they pollinate different kinds of plants. So if you want all the plants to be pollinated correctly, that's the best thing. And I'm just going back to this slide for once. Wildflowers, I'm going to say, are especially important to have a diversity of flowers that bloom different times during the year so that bees have food during the entire year. But we are making progress. There was a 2-year European Union neonicotinoid ban, which is currently under review because it was in 2012 and now it's 2015, or maybe, I don't know when you're watching this. And there's also Saving America's Pollinators Act, which was working its way through Congress currently, but you know how Congress is, don't know, but it would suspend neonicotinoid registration, investigate neonicotinoids, and monitor native bees. So I hope that you found this informative. I hope that you're going to do your passion project and go out and have an awesome action and a super time, and thank you for listening. I think that's it. And if you want to, you can visit my website, letsgetbuzzy.weebly.com. Thanks.